You spin me right round, wheel right round. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with another January randomized movie reaction. That's right, this is for the entire month. We are just continuing to randomize our movies based on donation rewards and all to see what we just happen to get. It's going to be interesting to see how these continue to go. Our first weekends, were a mixed bag. We had one that I wasn't a fan of and one that I really liked. So, what are we going to get to next? What is going to be our first randomized movie of this week? So, I guess we should just find out. Why waste any more time? Because we'll be talking about my thoughts on whatever the movie ends up being. So, let us get this up. Here we go. We have the wheel, we have the same stuff on it, except the stuff that's already been spun, we replaced. So let us see what we get this time. And we have Joyride 2. So, it's been a little bit since we reacted to the first Joyride movie. Um, it was a pretty interesting thriller film. I wouldn't count it as full horror, but I enjoyed it. It was maybe a little cheesy, a little ridiculous, but it had a very real concept. Like you have these I want to say they're college age kids who were harassing this trucker or something. I'm trying to remember, it's been a while. They're harassing a trucker or something, and he started coming after them. And this is a real thing that can happen. People with just way too short of a temper, um, like attacking you because you mock them, you taunt them, etc., etc. This kind of stuff has happened. And so it didn't come across as like one of those thriller movies where it's like, oh, it's supernatural or it's, I don't know, mutants or something. It's not over the top like that. It was more silly in terms of its performances. Um, but it did had Ted Levine in it. He was the voice of the bad guy. And Ted Levine, you may know from playing Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, but I most know him for Captain Leland Stottlemyre in the series Monk. It's like I knew of him in that way before I knew he was Buffalo Bill. Of course, I was also late in the game to seeing Silence of the Lambs, so and I watched Monk since it first came out and like as it entirely aired. So it's a bit of a difference there. Monk came out in 2005, I believe, by the way, which is like 2 decades ago. That's insane to think about. I was a kid when I first watched that. Because 2005, I would have been 13 years old. It's like, geez, I was a baby. But getting back on topic. So, yeah, the first movie was pretty thrilling. I don't remember if it said that he survived at the end, but they could like do a completely disconnected story and everything. Um, Separate it from the first movie, just having a similar concept and whatnot. And I actually want to check real quick when it was that I did react to that. Because it's been a while. I believe it was just this past year, but I don't know exactly when, you know? It's one of those cases where it's been long enough that I can't remember. I think it was this past year at least. Uh, no, it was actually 2023. Wow. It was July of 2023, so it's actually been like a year and a half. Oh, and yeah, this is Steve Zahn and Paul Walker as well, by the way. So it's actually been a little longer since I got to this series than I realized. I thought it was like maybe March of last year. But hey, I mean, that means it's a good thing we're getting back to this. It's been long enough, and I don't know why I put it off for so long. It just kind of happened. But I'm excited to get back to it. I'm excited to see, like, if it's the same, like, lead characters. Because I don't think they died. I don't think either of them died. If it's the same bad guy, I don't know. I know nothing about this as a series or whatever. I just saw the first movie. I enjoyed it. So, let us get into this and see what this has in store. I have to go download it, of course. But then we'll get into this, see what we have with this film, and we'll come back here, as we always do, and talk about it. So, let's get this going. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day, Horizon Forbidden West on Mondays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange, Wednesdays and Sundays is Red Dead Redemption 2, and on Saturdays we have Nier Automata. A lot of great gaming content every day. Don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright reasons. And please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I know it showed like his hand, arm, whatever, was burned at the end and everything. But if he was in the cab of the truck when it flew over the cliff, it exploded. It's not just like fire, it just exploded. And then that massive crash down at the bottom, it's like, even if we want to assume he had somehow gotten a seatbelt or whatnot on, even if we want to assume that he could survive just, being burned and all, the massive crash, like from the top to the bottom of the cliff, the exploding, how's he going to survive that? It's just like, for as like kind of like steeped in reality comparative to other like thriller horror films that this movie is, it's like that's one thing that I just don't get. Because it's like you have like a real life type of like serial killer basically. And all of his kills, all of his actions are fully realistic, fully believable. And it's like, as fucked up and evil as he plays by like human rules. Where it's like he can get knocked down by a shovel and everything. And it affects him. But it's like, when it comes to dying, they just don't want to kill him because I guess, like from a production standpoint, they just want to make more movies. They just want to make more movies, so they don't want to kill him. Instead of like, I don't know, making someone else, making a different villain. It just seems like that would make more sense than coming up with stupid ways for him to survive. They didn't even come up with a way for him to survive. He's just like, oh, he just survived. We don't know how long later that was, so maybe he could have like crawled away from the wreckage and been like hospitalized or something for a long time. That could have been years in the future for all we know. But the fact that he's still super badly burned at least hints that it's not that far into the future where his burns might have healed or whatnot. I don't know. It's just, it feels like it just doesn't make sense considering the realism otherwise of the film. That being said, outside of just that, which is again clearly just so they can make more movies, although I think there's only three of these in general, so outside of that though, it's like I enjoyed this. I think there's certain aspects of it that were better than the first movie, and certain aspects that were worse. From what I remember of the first movie, mind you. So in the first movie, again, there were the two friends, the two dudes, and they were like using the radio to like mess with truckers and stuff and like pretend to be a girl, and that's why Rusty was going after them and stuff, right? Um, in the first movie, they did not make those two unlikable enough to really feel like they deserve to be hunted down by him. In this movie, the guys were definitely made to be the most unlikable. The girls were not at all. The girls were actually like they were dumb. They were dumb as bricks, but they weren't unlikable. They were just stupid. But like Nick especially, it's like, oh, I'm fine with him having been killed. Like I'm actually not just entirely fine with it, but kind of happy about it because oh he fucking sucked. He deserved it, considering everything. It's just the sister didn't deserve to die. I can't remember her name. I remember Mel, Bobby, and Nick, but not her. But she didn't deserve to die. But she also basically kind of self-sacrificed herself. Like she didn't really have a choice. She was pinned. She couldn't move. But she made sure to get Mel out to make sure that Mel got out of there to safety. So it's kind of in that same ballpark. Um, but yeah, she didn't deserve to die. That one random guy at the bar or whatnot, like he didn't deserve to die either. But that was like just a random death, just for the hell of it, I guess. It felt very random. And the woman at the beginning, the sex worker, she didn't deserve to die, obviously, but you know that was just an initial death to really set the tone, as well as to set up for the wig and the clothes to come back later. Um, I mentioned in the reaction that kind of the vibe of this film was a bit different because, again, in the first movie, Rusty was chasing them down and everything because of them tricking him with the radio and all. In this, he starts chasing them down because they took the car. Which, again, there's a reason for it happening. But he takes a much more, from my perspective at least, a much more, like, what's the word? My mind's blanking. Active. I don't know why my mind blanked on that. He's taken a much more active role in this film and seems like he's like. In the first movie, he was more mysterious, you know? He was more mysterious, more of this like figure like chasing them down. But in this movie, he like again plays a much more active role. He does more. He's more sadistic. He's more like crazy and more tricky. And he's fucking with them a lot more. He's definitely a bigger force in this film compared to the first, which I'm fine with. It just definitely gives it a different vibe. Also, it's very clear like the actor here was trying to do a Ted Levine impersonation to try and keep the voice consistent. And it's like it was very clearly an impression. It sounded like someone pretending to sound like Ted Levine. And it was just noticeable the entire time. This movie was apparently made for DVD, so I guess maybe the budget was like a lot lower, and that's why they couldn't actually get Ted Levine back or any notable actors whatsoever. But again, I just at this point I feel like they should have maybe gone with a different character. Like bring back Rusty Nail and having him just continue to be the villain here. It's like even though it's a different voice. I mean, I guess they've done that in other things, but again, with how the ending should have gone here, they definitely should have retired the character and gone on to something different. But that's just me. I just feel like it makes absolutely no sense for him to have survived that. Um, the movies, like action and whatnot, and the intensity felt dialed up compared to the first one. The first one is a lot more held back, which definitely like worked for the first film, while this one amping it up did feel like it was logical. Um, the kills felt a little more creative here, a little more interesting, and it was definitely like keeping my attention the entire way through. I never had a problem with like the pacing, or I never had a problem with like feeling like it was dragging or getting too boring or anything. I was into it. I was invested. But yeah, I just feel like the first movie felt like a little stronger in terms of the writing, and that the acting was better. But I mean, when you have more notable name actors and everything, it makes sense. This this wasn't bad at all. Again, in some ways better than the first, in some ways worse. But it was definitely a fun ride. It was definitely a fun ride. Um, there is a third one, so maybe we'll get to that at some point. Maybe, hopefully, it won't necessarily take as long to get to it this time, but we'll see. Just depends on quite a few factors. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this continues to go for the third one, and if Rusty Nail will actually stay fucking dead for once. But I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this film? Like, what do you think about him surviving in the end? Um, how would you compare this to the first? All of that jazz. Thank you so much though for tuning in. If there's anything that I missed talking about that you want to specifically hear my thoughts on, please feel free to ask in the comments. For now though, thank you for joining us for another randomized January movie. We have another coming for this weekend, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.